Pantoja. I'm a tech investor. My background is in software engineering. I did my undergrad at Allspeed State University in Clarksville, Tennessee. I did my postgrad at University of South Florida, studied computer science with a specialization in cryptology. Cryptology is the study of encryption across computer systems, but it's also what cryptocurrency is based on. So it got me in very early with cryptocurrency because I was happened to be studying the technology it's based on. So I got into it early. And after that, I worked for a company that predicted stock movements, and then I got a lot of understanding about how stocks moved from working at that company. I was a college instructor for a while. And then around 2012, 13, 14, I started putting all this together and started realizing I had an affinity for, investing in, tech stocks. So I started investing in tech stocks, made a good amount of money up until then. Started a company in 2016 called ICO Ranker. It was an AI algorithm, it was an early AI algorithm that predicted stock movements and also crypto movements and which one was going to be do the best and which ones you can make the highest ROI on. So we got acquired by a publicly traded company. After that, I started, going around speaking about all these technologies, tech stocks, cryptocurrency, and I'm very happy to be doing what I'm doing now. So that's what got me into tech stocks. That's what got me into cryptocurrency.
Awesome. Well, I'm not as much on the technical side but how I got into cryptocurrency is before cryptocurrency, I was a serial entrepreneur, full-time real estate investor. And in 2017, I was introduced to Bitcoin. And well, let me take that back. In 2012, I was introduced to Bitcoin, and I blew it off like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. This is crazy, and it's going nowhere, like many people think today. And in 2017, I was reintroduced to it, and I was still very skeptical. But when I was able to see how easy it was to turn Bitcoin into cash, I thought I'd try it. They told me that I started at $1,200 in February of that year, and they told me that it would double by the end of the year. Well, by the end of the year, it hit $20,000, and I had bought a couple of Bitcoin. And I was like, what is this? And why did it happen? And how do we do this again? And no one around me could tell me that. I was asking many people. I was like, tell me why this happened. Like, when is it going to happen again? Because I want to get in again. And because no one could tell me, I went on a journey to learn it for myself. I was very intrigued by it. And I knew that it was the future, but I didn't know why it was the future. And so I originally went and got blockchain certified. I flew to Greece, got Ethereum certified so I can understand smart contracts. And in January of 2022, received my master's degree in blockchain and digital currency. And from that point on, I was bit by the Bitcoin and crypto bug, and I haven't let it go since. I started educating people. I started just originally telling people, hey, check this one out, buy this, do this, do that. And people started making money, and before I know it, people started calling me from people that I didn't know, and I was like, wait a minute, and I started educating people about it and started speaking in rooms like this around the world. And so I went on a mission now to educate 1 million people to utilize cryptocurrency as a vehicle to create wealth.
Yeah, give her a hand of applause. I actually met her 3 years ago at a Bitcoin conference. World is small, man. So,
yes.
But I want to iterate on something she said, right, is that a lot of times people believe that cryptocurrency and the stock market are different, right? They think that cryptocurrency, this is what really gets me, is that people see cryptocurrency as investing first and then tech second. It's actually the reverse of that. Cryptocurrency is tech first, investing second. And I think if people approach it with that, that mindset, they can see a lot of the movements and what's coming next. It's not just that you choose a horse in a race and your horse wins. It's about adoption. It's about what the tech does. Is about utility. It's the same type of metrics that pushes cryptocurrency, that push tech stocks like NVIDIA, like Microsoft, like Meta, is that if you see a migration of talent from traditional tech sectors to a new tech sector like cryptocurrency, or even if you see like she mentioned Ethereum, if you see Ethereum developers moving over to something like Solana, that shows us that there's some potential for Solana. Maybe there's going to be a movement in that cryptocurrency. The same thing in the tech stock world is that a lot of times we're able to predict patterns or movement in stocks based on what's happening in that world. And that's why I've been very successful on is being able to predict which technologies were going to do well based on these types of metrics. NVIDIA was one that did extraordinarily well over the last few years. We had it started out like 2022, it was like $80. It ended up being, it got split, but before the split value, roughly $1,200. So, I mean, people made it changed a lot of people's lives because they was able to connect the dots between ChatGPT and NVIDIA. Right, and a lot of people took a while to connect those dots. Right, that's why you have to be active and early on these technologies, including cryptocurrency, because the people that are early are the ones that make the most money. The people that sit around and wait, and I'm gonna see what happens, and let's wait until this technology is more adopted. Those are the ones who end up losing because once the risk is gone, the profit is also gone. So you have to be able and willing to jump into stuff before the masses do. If you wait for the masses, and we all know the economy, the masses can't get rich. It's impossible. There's mechanisms in the economy that won't allow it. So you have to be ahead of everybody in order to beat everybody else. Once the masses come along, it's the system set up in a way that is going to fail. So you got to be early, and you have to be active, and you have to be able to be educated, like in cryptocurrency, in tech stocks, in technology, to be first.
Just to semicolon what you're saying. So before I was, when he talks about being early at something, so I was a real estate investor before I was a cryptocurrency investor. And so I was able to view cryptocurrency through the lens of real estate. And so even if you're not a tech investor or a stock investor in that, so a lot of people kind of understand real estate from a simpler ideology. And so when he talks about being early at something, it's the same thing. So if, for instance, when you're a real estate investor and they tell us that, land in this area of town, and you see Starbucks coming soon, and you see Target coming soon, and you see new toll roads going in or new parks coming in, that lets you know that there's development coming in that area, and you might want to go over there and get in early on the land, or you want to buy the houses before the retail investors come in that they're being sold to, right? The same thing with cryptocurrency and any stack. I'm more cryptocurrency than I am, so I'm gonna stay in my lane. But the same thing with cryptocurrency, because in 2024, when I hear people call, 2025 now, when I hear people call cryptocurrency a scam, I really have to look and say, wow, you've really been programmed. Because when you look at the same way, I always teach, when I was in real estate, I've been an educator even in real estate, and I always talk about follow the money. Like, you don't have to know everything. Just follow where the money is going. And so when you look at like the U.S. government, when you look at nations around the world, when you look at companies like BlackRock, the largest asset management company in the world, Fidelity, a lot of you trust Fidelity for your 401ks. They're expecting Bitcoin to be $1 billion in 2038. $1 million in 2030. Like, you don't have to sit there and try to figure out and then be wrong and miss out because you were trying to figure out what you don't understand anyway. Like, I just like to really keep it simple. And keeping it simple is following the money. And I talked about this yesterday at the real estate conference. When they move, you move. Just like that.
Like what you said too, is BlackRock is I believe the biggest asset manager in the world. I think they control, but I think it's somewhere like 4% of the world's wealth.
Yes.
I think it's around that number. And almost every rich person has money some kind of way attached to BlackRock. BlackRock has a lot of power. They recently just brokered a deal where they have like a large amount of control over the Panama Canal. This is how big BlackRock is. Now, BlackRock right now owns about 5% of all the Bitcoin in existence. 5%. And then MicroStrategy, another company, it's a stock, they own another 5%. Then you have various, the U.S. government, various governments around the world, they own another 8-9%. That's already 20% that's pulled off of the table. Now, and they've spent billions doing this over the last couple of years. All the while, they're telling you it's a scam and stay away from it. This is one of their strategies to control an asset before the regular people have a chance. And once they build their coffers up, they'll sell it right back to you. And I like your example about real estate, right? Is that right now it seems kind of risky, the tariffs, Bitcoin's volatile, moving up and down, crypto in general is volatile. But like if in real estate, let's say that you see a neighborhood, right? The neighborhood's, maybe crime-ridden, maybe dangerous, but then you see a Starbucks gets built over there. And you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why would they build a Starbucks there? And then you wait a little while, and then next you know, a Panera's there. Then you see a high-rise condo. Well, it's a crime area. Why would anybody want to live there? And then slowly you see these things start to happen. And if you're smart enough, when that Starbucks goes in, something's going on, you buy some property there. The people that are not maybe as savvy, when the Panera comes in and the high rise start coming, they buy. But the people who are so afraid of risk, they say, well, I'm going to wait until the crime is low. Well, if you wait till the crime is low, a condo is like $6 million. It's too late. You have to be able to see those things happening and jump in before they all take place. Because once the risk is gone, there is no profit. So all the prices are already high. They're not going to come down, and you missed your opportunity. So it's always important to stay ahead of the masses on everything.
Even when we look at when you talk about risk, and there's reward and risk, and people always talk about the volatility of cryptocurrency, and you just spoke about how it's volatile, but because being in real estate, remember, I look at it through that lens. So I look at it like comps. And when you go back and look at the comps, because they say the numbers don't lie, Bitcoin has outperformed every asset class over the last 15 years. That's just facts. Like, those are your comps right there. So whether you believe it or not, I was talking to a gentleman last night, and he kept telling me about treasury bonds and this, that, and the other. And I was like, you have to decide, do you want to be right or do you want to make money? And most people are you buying stocks, you buying real estate, you're doing your investments because you want to make money. Well, what has made the most money? Bitcoin. Regardless of whether you believe it or not, you can Google what I'm saying. You can go fact check me. Bitcoin has outperformed every asset class. The United States government, they haven't put stocks in as a reserve asset. They haven't put real estate as a reserve asset. They put Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Just follow the money. If you really keep it that simple, and I like to keep it that simple because I don't want you to get complex, like trying to figure out in your head, like, why does this make sense? And what is this going to earn while you learn? But don't miss it.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I wanted to touch on some of those. So cryptocurrency is, I believe, part of this greater digital transformation we're going through, right? And that includes AI, that includes quantum computers, that includes electric vehicles. All of those things are starting to transfer. And I always say is that, excuse me, I always say that over the next 10 years, we're going to go through more transformation in our lives than people did over the last 1,000 years. Like, our lives will be completely different. If you think about it now, I mean, even with AI, how many people in here use ChatGPT for their jobs? And next year it'll be 100%. And I was actually speaking in Boston earlier this week, and we were talking about AI, and the thing about AI is that over time, the people who got into ChatGPT early, they made their jobs a lot easier. Then the regular people start coming in, everybody starts coming in. What happens is eventually ChatGPT becomes the baseline. Like back in the 80s, used to put on your resume that you could type 140 words a minute. That was actually, you'd go to an interview and say, and be proud of that fact. And now, if you go in there and say that, you look like an idiot. Like, everybody can type. What does that mean? But that was a skill that you could actually leverage into a good paying career in the 80s. But the people who can't, now what happens is that typing is expected. If you can't type, you can't have a job.
Correct.
Same thing's going to happen with adopting AI, cryptocurrency, all these other things, that it becomes the baseline over time, and then you can't even move forward unless you understand these technologies. So along with this digital transformation, one of the opportunities I see is that I did see when AI, and I made a lot of money invested in AI stocks when ChatGPT came out. I didn't expect, actually, I studied AI in grad school, but I didn't expect we were as far as we were on AI. Now, AI uses a ridiculous amount of electricity. Blockchain and crypto use a ridiculous amount of electricity. So the United States and the world in general right now is in an energy crunch. So we have to find new ways for all this energy, EVs, electric vehicles, even it's a lot of energy that we now use. So one of the biggest opportunities I see in the stock market right now is energy companies. Ones like Oklo. Oklo is a small nuclear reactor company. And what they do is nuclear reactors are not as dangerous as they were in the 70s and 80s. They've made a lot of great advancements since then. So they've almost perfected small nuclear reactors. Now, with a nuclear reactor like that, you take a 30-pound ball of uranium and you put it into a reactor, and it powers a small city for 30 years with no other inputs other than that uranium and a machine to make sure it doesn't blow up. But that's most of the work around it, is that you have to contain it. But these types of companies that figure out fusion, fission, new ways of producing energy, those are the ones that are going to do well in this next wave of technology over the next 10 years. The companies who figure out how to supply the needs of blockchain, the needs of AI, and the needs of other things that are happening in this digital transformation.
So when I want to pick up on something you said. You talked about these companies. And so a lot of times what scares people sometimes within the cryptocurrency market is that they see all these coins, or they see these coins and tokens, and they're wondering, which one do I invest in? I don't know which one to invest in. And you really think like you're going to the casino. I like the name of that one, and I'm just gonna buy that one, and so you're really gambling at that point. And what I wanna say is, just like these coins and tokens, these are companies that are building technology for blockchain technology that just happen to utilize cryptocurrency in the process. But the infrastructure is being laid. And so a lot of times people run away, or they're scared because they're like, wait a minute, all these coins, and somebody told me about Dogecoin, the meme coins, or people get into these coins and then they lose money because they didn't know what they were investing in. And most people don't even know that a lot of the coins and tokens, they have utility, which means there's real use cases behind it. I'm bullish on a coin called Avalanche. And why Avalanche? 42 million in California, 42 million car titles have been put on blockchain, on Avalanche's blockchain. So these are real coins and tokens. So that if you think about it like companies that you're investing in, it's not just like because you see them at a penny, or you see it at 20 cents, or you see it at $2. And so you think, oh, I like that one because it's 10 cents, or I like that one because it's 9 cents. But what does this company do? What are the real world use cases that they are building on blockchain? They're not just, it's not just a list of coins that people are like, I like the way that one sounds, let me just throw my money at that one. Because gambling, you don't want to gamble. You want to understand what you're investing in. And what I share with people right now is that we are in a financial revolution in front of our eyes. A financial revolution is taking place. And I know that I see more black and brown people in this audience. So I want to say this because I think it's very important to say, it don't matter if you like Trump or not. It doesn't. Pay attention to what they are doing. Executive orders are being signed right now, every day, about cryptocurrency, digital assets. Trump and his family have a decentralized hedge fund called World Liberty Financial. You can Google this. I follow the coins that they buying, because that's the good thing about the blockchain. We get to see where the money is going. So when you think about that, like I'm taking you right back to the basics. Follow the money. It don't matter. Follow the policy. Whether you like them or not does not matter. If you voted for him or not, it doesn't matter. Because his policy is going to affect you. Banks have just been given the authorization to custody crypto. That means that, so think about this. When you go to a bank and you get a loan, you know why they call it a consumer loan? Because you're a consumer of money. You want to be on the wholesale side of money, not on the retail side of money. And money's on sale right now because crypto's on sale right now. And you don't want to go buy it. If I told you, girl, they got that outfit on sale, you like, for real? Oh, it's 50% off. You run into the store. But when money's on sale, we run in the opposite way. And so I need your mindset, because that's what's going to change the game, because we can't go on emotions. Remember I said I was introduced into Bitcoin into 2012. And I went on my emotions. I didn't believe it. It was what I thought. I didn't even know about it. How could I have an opinion about something I didn't know about? Grant Cardone said that ignorance is a disability. I was disabled at that moment because I was ignorant about something. And a lot of us make decisions based on ignorance. We taking advice from Uncle Willie and Cousin Tiana. Like, when did they become your financial advisors? When did your Uber driver become your financial advisor? When did they understand the cryptocurrency? Somebody told them. And one of the reasons that we're going to get left behind if we don't is because we won't get educated. And we want to we want to play this game of, that ain't going nowhere. And we want to be right or we want to be wrong. You want to be rich. It don't. And if I'm wrong, but I don't still have any money, and you're going to need some, because the price of eggs, and the price of chicken, and the price of cars, they're not gonna stop going up. You know why? Not because they're more valuable. It's because your dollar is worth less. So you have to find a vehicle where you can outperform inflation, where you're losing money. Take it baseline, because everyone is going to be affected by this digital revolution that's happening. Back to you.
That was some great points. Give her a hand. Those are great. I always like your passion.
You said what?
I always like your passion.
Yeah,
and the way you're able to clearly, articulate. That's the word. See, I didn't even have the word, so I'm sure she did though. But I wanted to touch on something she said, is that the fear of not acting when money's on sale. Now, the last 100 years, and I may be wrong on this number, but I believe this is right, the market has crashed over 20%, 56 times. When did it not come back? Every single time it's came back. Or we wouldn't be here right now. The whole United States would be down. It's come back every single time and going on to record highs. Now, for some reason, whenever we see the markets crash, we freeze or get scared. When you know that fact, it's never not come back. So if a market retracts 20%, I think, I don't know, how much is the stock market down now since Trump's tariffs? But I mean, is it overall? I think it's down like over 10%. It's like 12, 13 or something. How much is it?
Close to 6.
It's 6 total since all this started? I guess it came back some.
Is it 6 in the last days?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah,
months.
it did.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was let's say at the max, it was down 10%. So if you got in at that 10%, so when it goes back up, you make more than 10%. You make like 12, 13, 14% a return, and that's in a few days or a few weeks. So we should see the opportunity when the markets drop, and start seeing it as a fear point, or not knowing when it's going to stop. It's came back every single time in history. So we should see this more as an opportunity. And now for the second thing I want to talk about is that you talked about how many cryptos there were. That's 2 million cryptos out now.
Yes.
2 million. 2 million cryptos, and 50,000 get created every day. It's a lot easier to make cryptos than it was like 5, 6 years ago. All you got to do is like go to a site and just put in the information, press go, and you got a cryptocurrency. You have to be careful. And you have to look for utility. You have to look at the team behind it, like she spoke about the technology. You have to look at all those things, just like you do with a tech stock. It's the same thing now. There's a lot of scams out there now. But I also like what she said about following the money. I do utilize social media for my businesses. So when I was trying to figure out what investment to make based on how the U.S. election was going to go. So I'm looking at prediction markets. And the prediction markets had like 80% chance Trump was going to win. So I turned on the news and they said, Harris was going to win. And I'm like I don't want to be biased in my financial decisions. I want to know what's right. I don't care, trying to introduce my own bias or what I want to happen in that. So I'm like, why would the prediction markets is what a lot of people don't know some people may not know what the prediction markets are. So there are markets where you can you basically bet on who you think is going to win. And as more money goes on one side, it starts to show who's going to win or who's not, who people think are going to win, where the big money is going based on those bets. So almost all the money was on Trump. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Why would billions of dollars be on Trump? But the news tells me that it's either close or Harris is going to win. So I said, well, I'm going to trust the prediction markets. People put their money where their mouth is. People put their money where their mouth is, right? So I bought some stocks, cryptocurrency stocks, MicroStrategy, right before some options. And the next day, Trump won. And the day before that, I posted that I was going to do that play. I said, look, I think I'm going to put some money into MicroStrategy because the prediction markets say Trump's going to win. I lost 8,000 followers because of that. I didn't say I wanted him to win. I just said I think he's going to win here. And people got so emotionally triggered by me saying I think based on the data that Trump could possibly win, that they could not take that data, which would have helped them make a lot of money if they would have just looked at the argument. They could not handle that. I even thought that maybe, so they unfollowed me. So the next day I made like 6 times my money in 2 days. And a lot of people could have benefited from that. But like you said, you have to look at these events. You can have your own political beliefs, but you have to also look at it financially try to be as unbiased as possible. Otherwise, you miss important information that you could have used to further your financial situation. And really, to be honest, it's like nothing I can do about, it's small things I can do about who's going to be the president. I can vote, I can protest, but there's not really much I can do to affect politics, but I can affect my own pocket. And that's more important. Really, you can make more change in your own household by making $1 million, $2 million, or even doubling your income than you ever could by voting. Really, to be honest, voting's important. I'm not saying that, but the impact on your children's lives and your parents' lives is much greater based on your ability to earn money and your ability and your investments doing well. That's way more important.
So, to speak on that, the lady, I just lost Weaver. She's speaking tonight, Fawn Weaver, and I have a post on my page about this because she said this. So where she was speaking on the stage and she was talking about what he just mentioned, and she said that when Kamala Harris lost, Black women were so distraught that some of them couldn't even get out of bed for a week because all they could do was get on social media and post about and be angry or whatever, right? These are her words, so these are not mine. And if you go to my page, I am Michelle Lilly, you can see what she said. And she said that, but what was not recognized was 65 million Americans were invested in cryptocurrency. That portfolios could have went to zero if she won. So it wasn't about just a Black woman, it was about money. And we don't have enough. This is what she said. And so when I thought about that, and I was like, wow, that's true, because I introduced Trump into the conversation because I want to stir you up, because you need to be stirred up about your money and your economics, because by 2053, if we don't get it together, they're saying we're going to be at zero wealth. And we have to have those real conversations. And so when I talk about just follow the money, and when you think about a savings plan, when you think about your 401k, when you think about your retirement, right? And you have companies and states and nations that are using Bitcoin as their treasury. These governments are controlling the dollars that's in your bank account and in your pockets right now. And if they're using it as a treasury, you might want to have a treasury of your own with some Bitcoin in it. Because if, and I shared this yesterday, if fidelity is wrong by 90%, and Bitcoin only goes to $100 million because they're expecting it to go by 2038 to 1 billion, and you own a tenth of one, that's $10 million. If you own a fifth of one, that's $5 million. You can buy that today at $8,000. And in 13 years, possibly have 10 million. But let's just say they wrong again. And it only goes to 50 million. And you own a tenth of one. That's $5 million. And if it goes to 25 million, that's 2.5 million. If it goes to 10 million, that's $1 million from 8,000. Where else can you do that? And if you don't have a 13-year plan, you might want to look at what history has showed us. And if you're in real estate, at what the comps have showed us, and get the plan. You ain't got to quit your job. You don't have to stop running your business. All you got to do is put your money to work. And that is so important because we have to find a vehicle that you can't outwork money. So some vehicle you have to use in order to get there. And you're early right now. I shared, we're in like the AOL dial-ups right now when it comes to the cryptocurrency space. Some of y'all might be too young because you was born when Wi-Fi, you just came out and just started using Wi-Fi right away. Well, at one time we didn't have Wi-Fi. At one time everybody didn't have smartphones. We had beepers. And so, now you talk to somebody about a beeper, they like, huh? Well, the same way with what's about to happen. If I was to ask most people in the room, do you have cash on you? I don't have no cash on me, because you're using digital currency whether you know it or not. And the infrastructure is being laid right now because banks are about to turn dollars into stable coins. Let me just explain what a stable coin so you know. So cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the reason why they talk about it being volatile is because it can go up 20% in a day and it can drop 30% in a day. A stable coin is just a coin, it's really a token because it's built on top of a blockchain that's pegged to $1. It doesn't go higher than $1.01 and it doesn't go lower than 99 cents. So, which means it's not volatile. Well, banks right now are creating their own stable coins. So instead of you using dollars, you're going to use stable coins. So you're going to switch from beepers to smartphones. Why would that be so beneficial to you? Why? Because right now, if I asked you to send money to Japan, you couldn't. They were talking about it was a young lady that was talking about the international problem she was having with money being sent internationally. That's about to go away because cryptocurrency allows those cross-border payments with no problem. I can send $1 million right now to somebody in Japan. I don't have to get a wire transfer. I don't have to go in the bank and ask for permission. I don't have to get it cleared through the back office. I don't have to go through the SWIFT system. I don't have to do any of that. I can carry $1 billion on my phone through the airport. You go through $1 billion with some cash in the airport, and them people gonna come see you. Excuse me, we need to come. Customs is here, so we need to see. So when I talk about you not understanding it, stop waiting to understand everything. You don't understand how your FaceTime work, but you use it. You don't understand how the dollars in your bank account work, really, because you don't understand the monetary system. If I was to ask half the room, what does GDP mean? You like, huh? What? When we talk about the Feds cutting rates, the average person doesn't understand that, and that's why typically we don't have enough money. So don't wait to understand it, because you're in the beginning of something that you can look back and you're like, look, I don't know how I made this money, but I made it. And now guess what? I'm about to go to school and figure it out, because I got enough time to sit back and figure this out while y'all trying to, figure it out. I got money to figure it out. That's the difference.
You figure it out after you already have the money. Yeah, that's a good point. So I want you to talk about. So she talked about stable coins. And stable coins are going to be, like she said, is that it's a way to mimic the U.S. dollar, because cryptocurrencies are volatile. So people say, how are we going to transfer value back and forth? For example, if you work a day at work, and let's say at the beginning of the day you make $20 an hour, and they say, well, we're going to pay you. So by the end of the day, that $20 can now be $15 because of how volatile Bitcoin. It could be the crash in the market or something like that. So people can't live like that. They have to have something more stable. That's why stable coins were invented. Coins that stay almost the exact same value, regardless. If you don't know, you guys don't notice, the dollars in your pocket actually go up a cent or two, or down a cent or two every day. That's the Forex market is about that. So your dollars are not stable either. They move up and down, throughout the day. But I want you to talk about the blockchains that these stable coins are built on, because that's a big opportunity there. You have to build a stable coin on top of something or in a certain system. And those systems have value, like AVAX you talked about, Ethereum, we talked Solana. So a lot of those systems that these stable coins, now a stable coin is not really an investment because it doesn't move. Right. But the blockchains that these stable coins are built on, the more these stable coins are sent back and forth, they have to be paid in fees, and the fees are paid in whatever the blockchain's currency is. So the blockchain's native currency starts going up in value based on how popular a stable coin is. So I want you, if you wouldn't mind, if you could talk about that. You're more articulate than I am on this. So.
I want to touch on something you said, though. You talked about the dollars in your bank account going up and down. Well, if we put a ticker, yeah, they go up and down every day, but if you put a ticker overall on your bank account, your dollar actually goes down, 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 down in value because of inflation. And most people, we're not paying attention to inflation. And so now you constantly need more dollars to buy the chicken, to pay for the gas, to buy the car. And so we don't think about that. So you need something to outpace inflation, or else that means you have to work twice as hard for the same things. And that's why most people can't afford a house right now. Most people can't afford certain cars right now, because now I need more dollars in order to go buy that same whatever it is that you're trying to buy. But speaking of stable coins, and why that's important, because all banks, JP Morgan right now is in the process of stable coins. And so all these banks are pretty much going to have their own stable coin. So we talked about stable coins, and he's asking me about them built on blockchain. So first let me explain to you what blockchain, the difference between a coin and a token, because he's talking about them. So a coin is a blockchain. So think about your Apple phone or your Samsung phone, right? That would be considered the blockchain. I'm not going to go into too much technical right now, but that would be considered your blockchain. And the apps that's built on top of those are your tokens. So apps are tokens, and the Apple, that's what people can build on. So when I talked about like AVAX is a blockchain. And so developers can then go build, just like developers can build on top of Apple and can build on top of Google Play, they can build on top of blockchains. And so each blockchain, some blockchains have different use cases. And so developers like this blockchain better than they like that blockchain. But don't get caught up in that right now and confuse yourself. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm just trying to educate you a little bit so you're not just left in the dark right there. But the stable coins, the reason that they're also going to use those is because, if you look up World Liberty Financial, and the picture will come up with Donald Trump and Eric Trump and Barron Trump, they're all part of this decentralized, and they're creating their own stable coin. Why would they want to do that? Because it's like the dollar. But now you can do what's called in cryptocurrency, where it's staking. Staking is like if you go to the bank and you open up a CD, and they say I'm gonna pay you 6% for holding your money in this CD for a year. The same thing you can do with cryptocurrency, but a lot of times you can get more what we call yield. You can make more return in the cryptocurrency, and you don't have to worry about the fluctuation of the market. So what you're essentially doing when you go to the bank and you say, hey, I'm gonna tie my money up for a year in a CD, is you're providing liquidity to that bank. And when you do that in cryptocurrency, is you're providing liquidity to that company for holding your coins there so that they can continue to build, and they're giving you a yield. They're giving you an APY or APR, the same type of interest rate that you would get going to a bank. Typically, it's more though. And so a lot of nations, not just banks, a lot of nations will have their own stable coin. The reason why I talked about AVAX, and I'm giving you some game right here if you catch it. I'm very bullish on AVAX, and this is not financial advice, but I'm very bullish on AVAX because the state of Wyoming also is creating its own stable coin. States will have stable coins. This is not something that's like coming. This is something that's here. You can Google the state of Wyoming and their stable coin. And AVAX is the blockchain that there is leading right now because of it. And so now, remember we talked about cryptocurrency being like companies. So AVAX would be like a company that has a coin. And if the state of Wyoming is using it, they're going to run on their blockchain, and fees are going to be paid. So that the value of that coin is going to continue to go up in value because of the use case of it. So remember I said, it don't matter whether you understand this or not. It doesn't matter whether you know it or not. If you just keep, Michelle said, follow the money. Okay, they doing this. They move, I move. Just like electric slide with them. You know what I'm saying? Move to the right. Hey, they move to the right. They move to the left. Trump put out tariffs. Market go down. I buy. So just understand that. So I don't want to confuse you too much I just want to give you more. I teach about education. I teach about all of this. And so you don't have to get too educated about it, but you have to get educated.
Yeah,
I was going to say, we got a couple minutes. Can we take a couple questions?
Yeah, a couple of questions. Who has a question?
There's a mic on that side. There's a mic on this side. So I'm going to ask if you have a question to go ahead and stand at the mic and go at the microphone, and we'll go that way. Okay? I'm going to start on that side of the room. Go ahead.
All right, now it's on. All right, so I'm Isaac, and
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what people are pretty much scared of about the volatility in any investment market is some people hear about how people lose thousands and millions, and they are freaked out because they'll say, oh my God, I lost everything. So my thing, because I've been thinking about this, is that do not invest what you are afraid to lose. Right. So you have where you can take it and say, okay, I'm going to put this here, and I'm not going to miss this if I lose it. But my question is that what would you suggest how people can manage while they're educated how to handle if they lose, if they happen to not gain something?
I'll go first. If you look at the market in cryptocurrency, we'll talk about crypto and we'll talk about stocks. There's stocks that are basically staples that they're volatile. They don't move that much, right? Like Nvidia is not going nowhere. Microsoft's not going anywhere. Meta's not going anywhere. So the reason why people lose money is they panic sell. They don't have a plan going into it. So when you trade crypto or stocks, whatever, you have to create a plan on it when you buy. Not because what happens is that if you don't have a plan, emotions will creep in. You'll see your money going up. And remember, the money on the screen is not your money. right? It's not real. That's why it's called realized gains until you sell.
So it's more like a prediction.
It's just a kind of prediction.
forecast.
If you were to sell right now, this is what it would be. A lot of people get caught up on the number. Imagine if you went home every day from work and it was a big digital sign on the outside of your house that told you how much it was worth every day. Down 3,000, up 7, down 7,000, 2,000, down. You know, man, like, but nobody cares because you always say, I know over time the house is going to go up. Those little fluctuations don't bother me. So that's how we should approach crypto and stocks is the little fluctuations. People panic all the time and they sell everything. You know, it goes down to 8%. Oh my God, I'm going to lose everything. They hear the news and they sell everything. If we did that with our houses, we couldn't even live there because we'd be moving every 3 months. So we have to just approach. You have to have a plan on initiation. This is I'm going to wait until it goes up 40%. I'm going to sell. If it drops 20%, I'll sell. You have to just understand that over time things go up, and also stay out of risky investments. And also, like you said, is don't invest money you can't lose. You know, if the rent's due in 5 days, that's a short period of time to be risking your rent money. You know, so people do that all the time, too, all the time. You paid on the 1st, they know the rent's due on the 5th, put it into the market. You're in an incredible emotional state if you got 5 days to make money. So
also is, you know, I'm not a day trader. And so if you're going to get into trading every day, or like he's talking about, that's a skill set. That's not something you can just jump in and then start doing. And a lot of people do that. And then they say that, you know what, I was in that Bitcoin thing and I lost money. And most of the time you didn't. You just sold because you got scared at the end. And the thing that I like is that from day trading, I'm not trying to get rich overnight. I'm not trying to get rich quick. I'm trying to get rich forever. Rich forever. And so when you look at it, like my mom, and my kids call her Big Mama. So I have this Big Mama story. So at 22, so I started buying at $1,200. A month later, Bitcoin was at $2,200. And I was telling my mother, I was like, you know what, you should buy Bitcoin. So she was like, you know what? I tried to explain it to her as much as I knew because I didn't really know that much then. And she said it made sense. So she bought it at $2,200. And that's when it went up to $20,000, and we didn't take profit, and it ended up dropping in 2018 to $3,000. And she called me panicking. And she was like, you need to sell my Bitcoin right now. You know, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And you're not doing that. You're going to hold this Bitcoin. And so because she held steady, she's at $80-something thousand today. So when you're investing, also what he spoke about is that you have to have a strategy. And so when I teach people is that you want to learn long-term strategy. And when we're in a bull run market, like we're supposed to be in right now, which I still believe that we're in right now, I just think that we're in a downtrend of it. But then you have to have a long-term strategy. It's like if you're in real estate now, because I was a real estate investor. So you got your fix and flips, and then you have your long-term holds. And so you want to have a strategy where it doesn't matter whether, if they saying that Bitcoin going to be $1 million by 2030, and this is Fidelity saying this, not Michelle, remember that. And like I said, if they're wrong, you can still back it out and make some money. What's your long-term strategy? Like in 13 years, we all still hopefully plan to be around here. So what's my strategy? So if they're saying this, then how can that be my long term where I just hold? And then how can I then have a short term where I have some fix and flips over here where I can take my cash and I can take my profits? And so because you have to have a strategy to your money versus just coming in the market and throwing some money in. Because a lot of people, you know, the market is going crazy and Dogecoin and so forth. You need to jump in that Dogecoin. I'm putting $100 in. I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. Like, that's not realistic. And so you really have to be realistic about what your strategy is. And the most thing is this is the biggest hack. Find somebody that has done what you're trying to do and and find out what they know and get their information.
Absolutely.
Don't go on it alone either.
So just kind of listen to everything that you guys have been saying, right? It seems like everything that we're working off of is in a fearful state. Right. Like you said, right. When you said you talked about Trump's going to win, you lost so many people on your social media, right? And she also said more or less the same thing. We're literally just in a fearful state, it seems like, as a collective, right? So, how do we get out of that fearful state?
Education.
Yeah, well, education is one, right? But would we have a central location for everyone to either join him in his stocks or you with your crypto? How would we go about that as a collective, if that makes sense?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna say this. I teach and I educate, but I'm never saying you have to follow Michelle or you have to follow Armando. I'm just an advocate of education because you make different decisions when you're an educated investor versus when you're an amateur just trying to invest. And there are some good programs out there. I have one. He has one. But
if you don't mind putting those out there for everyone as well, so that they can, so that way we all know where to go.
Go first. You can go first. You already talked.
Okay, thank you.
I just Googled her and I researched. I bought her book. I knew she was coming. I read the book. I'm telling you, get the book.
What's the name of the book?
Yeah, that's
What's the name? 10 years ago, I became an insurance agent. I have my own agency. I'm an independent insurance agent. Now I want to develop cryptocurrency and the new Black Wall Street.
Cryptocurrency and the new Black Wall Street. Thank you.
thank you.
Go ahead,
Thank you
Armando.
for that.
Yeah, so get her book. I'm convinced now I'm gonna buy it. I need to know the name. She was holding the name out on us. Like either that was a good strategy or because we wanted that name.
Look.
So
look.
You can follow me on any social media platform. Tall Guy Tycoon, TallGuyTycoon. It's on X. Everyone. I'm on there. Tall Guy Tycoon. Armando Pantoja. So so grab her book first, because I'm very impressed by that.
I'll pay you later.
Yeah, so
I don't even know that. Oh, wow.
So I know that we have time for one more question. I'm gonna let the gentleman. I know that you just asked a question, so I'm gonna let the gentleman ask, and it's gonna be our last question before we have to move on. But go ahead.
I really appreciate that. Mr. Armando, I really appreciate you coming out to your show every single day. I even purchased the Strategic Millionaire. I think it's the 7th edition. You even kind of convinced me to invest in SoundHound. So just proving that I watch you a little bit. I would love to watch you too. I forgot your name, but I love
Michelle.
I love the information you're giving out. I've been in crypto since like 2015. I'm not a millionaire yet, but it's gonna come one day. And just being an early adopter, I find that it's really hard to convince family members and friends to invest in crypto. A lot of my friends do like gambling, sports gambling, things like that. And I look at the amount of money they lose or win, but that money could be invested in bigger things. So my question would be, are you guys I want to know, are you guys bullish on certain things like XRP, Ethereum? I look into World Liberty Fi. I see that they've bought a lot of Ethereum in the past year or two or so. So a lot of the things you guys are talking about, I literally soak this information in every single day. I don't watch much Netflix. Everything's just YouTube. I invest every day. Like, I live investing. So I really just want to know, I really want to pick your brain and see what other things you're bullish on other than Avalanche. And what's an easier way to kind of convince others to not be scared to invest? I'm also a health insurance agent, so I work for Florida Blue, and I talk to thousands of people around the state of Florida every month. And it do come across as a scam because I talk to people and they're like, Bitcoin is a scam. This is a scam.
Your question, sir. I'm sorry. I have to keep a schedule.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was
We're
so
going to be
excited
clearing
to come.
I know.
But
You the last one.
it's a lot. I told you
Come
I watch
on.
them every day, so I got so much I really want to ask.
Go
you.
ahead.
I think he's asking, what are we bullish on, right?
Yes.
outside
For
of
sure.
what are we
In
bullish
15
on
seconds.
outside of what we've already talked about? I'm very bullish on XRP. XRP, I think, has the potential to transform the entire world's financial system. I think that I think that because Trump and Brad Garlinghouse, who's the CEO of XRP, are very close. I think that that's also a plus.
I even asked the ViStar people, one of the guys, because the lady was talking about cross-border payments, and she was having an issue. So I even asked them, are they ever going to like work with crypto? And they said
Yeah.
they,
All right.
they aren't
It
even
just takes
scratching the
time. It
surface.
takes time, man. So adoption takes time. It could be 10, 20 years before we see the full adoption, but we're in the neighborhood early, right? So we're buying
Right.
early and we'll see the potential over the next 5 years. But the true potential may take 10, 20 years.
Thank
Gotcha.
you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Let's give Armando and Michelle a hand of round of applause real quick. I mean, like 8 seconds. How can folks get connected, stay connected, tap into what you're doing next? I know, Armando, I think you mentioned it, but Michelle, I don't think we got your information.
So if everyone can follow me on at I am Michelle Lilly, and I have my business manager here. I hold classes. Dr. Melissa, we're having a class here in Jacksonville, May 6th. In Jacksonville, it's a workshop. It is real estate focused as well as, and it is cryptocurrency. Some investing in there. It's a 4-hour workshop, but then I hold a master class for those people, a 2-day master class, which gives you access for a year to a group. Those are people who are really wanting to dive deep and to really understand. And remember, I said you don't have to become an expert like me. You don't have to quit your job. I'm not telling you to shut down your business. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just saying get educated so you can make some money, so you can have some freedom, and so you can not be worried about the price of chicken.
Thank you so much. All right, let's give them another round of applause. Thank you, Armando and Michelle. We appreciate all the wisdom. Listen, that was gooder than good.